Maybe. All right. Good Monday morning, you guys. Well, I mean, it has been the crazy Monday morning for all of us. So, hey, we're here. Okay, we're here. But you guys are listening to Author Talk with me, Amy Russell. Our guest co-host today is Sandy Lawrence, and our lovely author guest today is Diane Bator. So, you guys, how was everybody's weekend? I'll jump in. Okay. I went to Dallas last week to spend time with Josh because, I was watching the kids, and all y'all know I was probably pulling my hair out. So I drove up to see Josh in Dallas, who was at work, and we hung out. I had lunch with my sister while I was there because she was also visiting. And let me just say, the joy on a kid's face being in the elevator, hitting all the buttons is priceless. But to me, it was just like I wanted to get to my room. Okay. Like, we've explored this. They hit the button to the helpline, which I've never done in an elevator. And it was the most awkward. You didn't know what to do or say. And so it was just a fun little adventure. But we are home now. My kids are at school very reluctantly. They are there. But I have a cool little thing. I was talking to Russell about it before. So me and Josh, you guys know my husband. I never call him that, but he is my husband. Hey, James, good morning.
James.
He has decided that, remember all y'all, I told you I wanted to go to Hawaii for my 30th, and that was next, real quick.
Which you're not 30 yet. You're like
I'm not,
23.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Greg. Exactly. I wish.
Hi, Greg and James.
Joshua said that we could go, right? Now, there is ulterior motives, and I told Russell this, and I will let y'all know. He wants to go hike this trail on the Kauai Island or something, and it goes around the whole ridge line, the coast of it, right? You have to hike it. It's 11 miles there and 11 miles back. You got to backpack it, okay? So, good morning, Bob. The way for me to get to Hawaii is I had to commit to doing this trail, okay? So now...
It's going to be the best part of the trip.
I know, but right now I have, what is it? Temporarily committed. I'm temporarily committed so I can get there. Okay.
Time to get in shape, girl.
I know. So now I'm having to do all this stuff, to backpack.
And you're going next summer?
Not in the summer. It's supposed to be really hot. So I don't know. We're aiming for between February and March or something. So I will keep you guys updated. But that was the coolest thing. I drove up there and he was like, hey, so you want to do your Hawaii trip? And I was like, what's changed?
Okay, can I say something bad?
You can.
So,
yes.
Hey, Bob. So the question is, what did he do that felt so guilty that he had to propose that? That's what I want to know.
Russell, you are an instigator.
What did he do? You need to have a talk with your husband about what instigated.
I know. I asked the same thing. And that's when I found out about this trail and me backpacking this trail. Okay. So there were ulterior motives for sure. But we're going to roll with it. It's a temporary commitment. Okay. We'll see how this goes. I got time. Okay. Yes, James, very much a true lawyer right there, Russell. That was spot on. But what did you guys do this weekend?
I had a very nice, relaxing, not much to do weekend. So grocery shopping, just a normal weekend kind of stuff. Although, being retired, I always ask, what's a weekend?
I know. Yes, for sure.
I have been off for the last few days. I actually had a couple of holidays left to take. So I've had 5 days of just kind of chilling and doing a little bit of writing and updating my website. And today is Thanksgiving. So I'm here in Canada. So we did our turkey last night. So today's just kind of hanging out and eating leftovers.
Nice. Happy Thanksgiving.
Like Columbus Day for us. So there's nothing going on, but it is a holiday especially for government workers. So yay.
It's Columbus Day and Indigenous Peoples Day.
Yes.
Or People Day. I don't know if it's plural or not. But Russell, my adventurous little friend, what did you do?
Okay, I had an incredible weekend. But I must say this. I have a couple of stories that are even better than my weekend that I have to tell. One,
okay.
I talked to a man this morning that is the American record holder for throwing boomerangs.
Oh,
And he told me a story that one morning on Easter, he threw a boomerang around the Washington Monument. And after he caught it, a woman officer on a very large horse rode up to him and said, "Did you throw something around the memorial monument?" "Yes." "Did you hit it?" "No." "You realize if you do that again, I'll have to give you a ticket?" "Yes." "Would you do it one more time so I can see?" So he threw it again and she gave him a warning ticket. Is that cool or not?
That is cool.
The second story has to do, and I'm very excited about Diane's books this morning. It has to do with her Drop Dead Cowboy, which I think, Diane, this is the first book in your series about the current series with the book that just came out.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, this book has to do with voodoo and voodoo dolls. And when I was practicing law in Houston, one of the things I did during the late 80s and early 90s, when Houston went through the crash, a lot of people would burn their houses down or burn their property down to collect insurance. And I was hired by insurance companies to investigate potential insurance fraud. It was one of my favorite things I did as a lawyer because you were really playing detective.
It's favorite thing.
And I had one case that I was investigating, and one day a lady called me that I would not identify. She would not identify herself and said that she was very worried about me because the people I was investigating knew hoodoo. It was pronounced hoodoo in Houston, not voodoo. And they had made a hoodoo doll of me, and she wanted to warn me because it was very dangerous. And I was a little bit shocked at first because this was a serious call. She was trying to scare me.
right.
And after she finished her pitch, I said, "Well, after they finish, do you think they would sell me the voodoo doll they made of me? Because I would like to have that." She just hung up because it didn't work.
That's very much a Russell statement. I was going to ask, did you ever get the doll? You know, like,
I did not get the doll, but they didn't get the money either.
Man,
Didn't work.
that's crazy. I haven't encountered any of that, Russell.
So that was pretty cool. I
Yeah.
want to thank the people that are watching us or listening to us on the podcast. Diane, we're like top 10 independent book podcasts in America to our shock.
Nice.
And we're very humbled by it. We want to thank the people listening to us. Amy, how do people find us find our podcast?
Yeah, so they can find us anywhere that you can listen to podcasts. So Amazon Music, iHeart, Stitcher, Good Pods, Google, Apple, anywhere that you can pull up podcasts, you can listen to our show. But like Russell said, we are just grateful, and we started this. It was Russell's idea because we just love talking to authors and getting to hear the story behind the story that they wrote. And Sandy is very well known for that. You know, every author has a story besides what they wrote. And so we like getting behind the scenes. So it's very nostalgic that Sandy's with us today because she was one of the OGs on here with us. So we're just incredibly grateful and thankful for all of you guys listening. We continue to do this. And so it's kind of nice and humbling to know that you guys are listening because this is just fun for us. This is everyday conversation for us. But thank you guys so much. And also on Through the Eyes of Authors tonight, if you missed last week, we are doing a Deck the Bookshelves book market, which is taking place in December, the 9th, 10th, and 11th. And what it is an online book market. So if you want to participate and if you're wanting a holiday promotion, send me an email. I'm more than happy to give you more information about it. And, you just have to be dressed from the waist up, which is my kind of party, okay? Like, that's just for me. I don't have to get out and look all fancy and stuff like that. but it is online. It's for 3 days. So if you want more information, feel free to send me an email. And back by popular demand, the lovely event that Sandy created before she decided to transition and switch gears, the 12 Days of Page Turners is back. The deadline to submit, if you are interested in that, is the 15th of October, which is this Saturday. So you have until then if you are interested in that. If you haven't heard and you've submitted, I'm waiting for the deadline, and then I will be sending out an email to everybody that was selected to be a part of it. That is the first 11 days of December, the 12th day. Everybody gets to come on and talk about it. It is completely free. All that we ask is you're offering some kind of holiday promotion on your book. Now, if you are in a different time zone and you can't be on live the day of your show, I'm more than happy to record it and air it on your day and time for that. That's no big deal. So time zones are not an issue. Just let me know and we will arrange it. But that's everything going on for Through the Eyes of Authors in a nutshell. We have a lot of fun events going on for sure. But with all that being said, Sandy, let's get Diane talking about her book.
Let's get her talking about her books. 14 books. Wow. When did you first start writing, Diane?
I'm one of those people, I've always been a writer, but I didn't seriously start trying to get anything published until probably about 2010. So all of my books have been published since about 2012. So
Oh, wow.
About 10 years.
Well, you've been definitely making up for any lost time, haven't you?
Yeah.
With 14 books in 10 years. That's maybe a world record. I'm not sure.
I don't know about that, but
and so I was so glad when I saw it, and I knew as soon as I got the text this morning, I saw, because the person that normally is sitting in this position sent a text to Amy, I saw, and said she couldn't be on this morning, and I'm just been acting as kind of like a substitute. So I'm like, I should probably go and comb my hair anyway, since I am retired and I stay at home, and there's no reason to comb my hair or will get dressed. But on some days, so I've got to where I have my days getting kind of full, but it's fun. I'm having fun. Okay, yes, Russell, I'll move along.
That's the great thing about COVID things, though. You only have to comb your hair and put on a nice shirt, right? So
right. So anyway, I knew I was going to be on, and I looked to see your books, and I said, oh my gosh, she writes mystery. So what a nice surprise to be able to do it and to be able to talk to you today. So it's great to talk to you. You said you started publishing them actually in like 2012, but you were writing them for years. So how did you know you wanted to write mysteries?
I really didn't. I ended up doing a contest, and it was called Murder in Ink. And the weird part is I've always read mysteries. I love puzzles. I love anything to do with a mystery, but I never wrote them. I entered this contest, and it was using one of these old murder mystery party games. You had all the characters, you had all the clues, you just had to put it together into a 10-chapter novella. And I ended up winning the contest, and I went, well, maybe I'm onto something here. So I started any books that I was already working on, I started turning them into mysteries. And next thing I know, here we are 14 books later and still going.
So where do you get your ideas?
Pretty much everywhere. Honestly, this thing with the boomerang, I'm like, that's interesting. You could like hit somebody on the other side of somewhere.
There was a Sherlock Holmes book about a suspected murder by a boomerang.
That's hilarious.
Wow. So all of your books in a series, Diane?
Right now I have 4 different series. I started off setting them all actually in the US, because that was, as a Canadian author, that's the information you're given. If you want to get to bigger markets, you have to set your stories in the US. Dead Man's Doll and Drop Dead Cowboy are actually the first series that I've set in Canada. So we'll see how it goes.
And so Dead Man's Doll is your current book that's it was just published this month.
Yeah, it just came out October 1st. So
now, is this the publisher for all your books?
Yeah, I've worked with Books We Love or BWL Publishing, they go by now. I've worked with them for 10 years. They're a fantastic publisher, and I've had nothing but fun with them. I still haven't been able to. I was in the same town as my publisher this summer, and we just could not get connected. But I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and meeting them in person one day. So
Oh, so you've never met them in person?
I have not. They're actually out in Alberta, and I'm in Ontario. So it's, but my brother lives in the same town. I just haven't been to his house. We've been out to other places and getting together, but I haven't been to his house in Airdrie until recently. So
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Wow, that's exciting.
yeah.
Yeah. So to have a publisher, how did you find them? The publisher.
That's the great big weird story. With my very first book, the bookstore, can't talk, bookstore lady. I was trying to submit it to different places and not having much success. And I ended up being part of a critique group. And most of them were based in the US, which was fun. You know, we were all scattered all over the continent. And the one lady, I really liked how she edited things and talked about writing. And I asked her one day if she would mind reading my book and giving me some feedback, right? So she did that, and she said, as soon as you're done with this, send it to this person named Dawn and tell her I sent you. And I'm like, why? So I Googled this woman, and she was an agent. So that's how I got my agent. And from
That is,
there,
you could mark that down as a miracle to find an agent like that.
absolutely. And she was the one who helped me I had two different publishers at one time. And the one publisher finally decided they were going in different directions. So they gave my rights back to my series. And I went back to my publisher here in Canada, and they said, oh, yeah, we'll take them. No problem. So we went through, we re-edited everything, did new covers, and popped them all up within the year. So it was great.
So tell us about this current series, the one about the dead cowboy and the Dead Man's Dolls. And just looking at the cover of the Dead Man's Dolls, I'm like, okay, that's the reason I thought that was the one you were talking about earlier, Russell, because it does have the little voodoo looking person with needles.
Right, and I'm dying to
Shining or
hear
not.
about her voodoo research. I got to
Yeah.
tell you.
Yes. So let's hear about this current series.
Yeah, absolutely. I started writing this book. This book actually was started as what do you call it? A short story in an anthology. And I decided, no, I'd like to flesh it out a little bit and set each of the mysteries at a holiday. So Drop Dead Cowboy actually takes place at Halloween. So the victim is dressed as a cowboy, and he is found on a bench in front of a bunch of shops where they're doing a little town Halloween festival. And people actually think he's fake for the first little while. The second one, Dead Man's Doll, isn't set exactly at Christmas, but in preparations for Christmas. So
Dead Man's Doll is
Dead Man's Doll, yeah. Does not look Christmassy. But it is actually set.
To Russell, it probably does. That's how he thinks of Christmas. Voodoo.
Voodoo. So yeah, I've been playing around with this series, and as I said, it's set in a small Canadian town, and I'm slowly building on the town and the people, and I've been having a lot of fun with it for sure.
Wow. So tell us about the voodoo. How did you happen to bring voodoo into these series of books?
There is so it starts out, Audra and her best friend Marilee, they have a craft store that they run in this little town of Sugarwood. And 2 doors down, there is this lovely woman who is a witch who runs this little they call it a curio shop, but they haven't really explored to the extent they're not afraid, or they're kind of afraid to so far. But on Halloween, she has little voodoo dolls in her front window. and the whole town is fascinated, even though they know what the voodoo dolls are for. They're how she treats some of her clients. And the voodoo dolls kind of keep coming back into, Miss Lavinia's store, as well as into Audra's store. They'll be learning how to make them, which will be fun too.
Wow. That's
So,
what did
what
you
was
learn?
your research for voodoo?
A lot of online stuff. I was actually in New Orleans right before COVID. So I didn't get to look as much as I wanted to there, but I had fun checking out all the little dolls in the shops and trying to find more and more every time I'm working on a new book.
And people really do take that seriously. I mean, they really.
Yeah.
When we went to New Orleans, my husband and I, a few years ago, and he bought a couple of voodoo dolls. He went to, was it Madame Laveau or the place, and he bought some for his friends as a gift. And he had a couple of friends that said, "No, no, absolutely, I do not want this. Don't want it in my house. Don't want anything to do with it."
Well, see,
So
that's the trick with voodoo, right? You got to believe in it for it to have power. That's why they hung up on me when I asked to buy my voodoo doll when they finished with it.
Yeah.
they hung up on you. Oh gosh. Oh wow. So just give us a gist of the story and the whole the series, the voodoo series.
The whole overall.
Yeah, just kind of
Um,
like what you said. There was a little store, or tell us about that, the place.
yeah. As I said, Audra and Marilee have this craft store, and they are just kind of humming along and selling their crafts. And bit by bit, all of this voodoo and all of these witchcraft kind of things start coming into their little space. In book one, in Drop Dead Cowboy, they end up being the recipients of this lovely group of women who do a sewing circle. Only in book two, they start finding out that a lot of these ladies are witches. Some of the things they do as crafts to give away to people are things that are to manifest future things.
Oh gosh.
And by the end of book two, they are fully in starting to learn more about the coven that's in the area and the people that they've known for years that they never would have thought were witches. So that part's been kind of fun. Also in book two, we get to meet Miss Lavinia, who runs the voodoo shop, and she's quote unquote a naturopath is what they call her. But they're starting to find out more and more that there's a lot more to her than this naturopathy and all of these oils and fun stuff. And they get to meet her nephew because she is injured when Audra actually finds a body in Miss Lavinia's shop, and Miss Lavinia has been injured as well. And her nephew comes to town, and he has trained with his aunt for many years and knows pretty much, well, not all what she knows, but knows a lot of what she knows. And he starts to kind of train them, to teach them little bits, but he won't tell them, the really good stuff. He just kind of surfaces it and says, yeah, well, you don't want to do that. Or maybe you do want to do this. So
I can't wait to read them. I can't wait to go. Is it better to go ahead and start with Dead Man's Cowboy and then go to Dead Man's Doll, or can they be read in individually?
they can be read individually. Yeah.
Okay. And so, how appropriate, I'm sure this was planned, that you launch your book on October 1st,
Yeah.
right before Halloween.
Yeah.
So, did you have any book promotions yet? Are you going to plan anything around Halloween? Or tell me what you're doing now that the book is written and now that it's published. What are you doing to sell the book?
Mostly I have Mickey is my great PR guy, that he's been getting me a lot of interviews and a lot of press and stuff, which is fantastic, because on a personal level, this last couple of months, I've had a bit of a struggle, but we are moving forward and hopefully getting in a lot more interviews, a lot more things going on, a lot more social media kind of stuff as well.
Very good. Okay, so what do you have anything specific planned for Halloween? Any like announcement going out or anything about the book for Halloween?
I've done a few announcements and stuff like on my blog, on my blog and stuff. And I'm just going through this weekend actually and updating a bunch of stuff on my website because that has been slowly gone under the bus this last little bit. So that will all be on my website very shortly as well.
Nice.
I'm
So
on your website.
I
Go
have
ahead.
I have a question, just because I'm curious, and I'm sure maybe you already answered it, and I could have just missed it. But why voodoo? Is it just like a fascination with it, or why did you pick, voodoo to be kind of the theme for this series?
Yeah, just a fascination. As I said, it came up when I first wrote the short story, and that's been probably 6 or 7 years ago when the first short story came out in an anthology. And then when they only sold the anthology for a short time. So then I got the rights back to the story and I went, well, I'd still like to do something with it because it was a fun story.
Right.
So it was already kind of a part of that particular story. So I just kind of expanded on it from there.
Yeah. See, I don't know. I find that so fascinating, right? This is what I love about writers, right? Is they incorporate all these things and you're like, oh, well, why did you do that? You could go so many other directions. You're like, well, I don't know. It was cool. Like, I want to run with it because it's cool, right? It's what I like. And so to me, that's just the coolest thing because I remember in this American Horror Story season, I don't know if it was like season 3 or 4, that took place in New Orleans, and it was, about the Covenant, right? And they had voodoo and all of this stuff, and you always think of New Orleans around voodoo, which I have yet to actually fully understand, why that is, but I find it so fascinating the way that you can incorporate things like that, and then your research and stuff, like you mentioned, that went into it, and so, is it something that is going to kind of be trademarked by you and carry on into a bunch of different stories that you do, or is it specifically just for this series?
So far it's been specifically just for this series. Like I said, I'm working on which Wild Blue Mystery series just kind of came to an end recently. So I've kind of set that one, still promoting it, but setting it aside for the moment. It still has a little loophole that I can get in and out of if I want to add more. But for now, the voodoo is staying with this particular series with the Sugarwood Mysteries. And it sounds like really sweet and fluffy, but there's a lot of stuff going on in town.
Yeah,
that's not so
I
sweet
feel
and
like
fluffy.
it's very, it does, Sugarwood series, you think it's all like, oh, it's going to be like lighthearted and just wonderful. And then it's like, no, there's voodoo and all these other like twists and turns and all of these things. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I was listening to you talk when, Sandy's asking you questions and I was like, man, like this takes me back to how much I loved that American Horror Story series, with the Covenant and all the ins and outs and stuff that went with it. Because I don't read a whole lot of books that incorporate voodoo and stuff, and that's just my mind goes to that. And I was like, holy crap, that would be the coolest thing ever. Like to do that research and stuff, kind of like Russell, you have to give it power, you have to believe in it, in order for it to work and stuff. And so I was just sitting here listening, and I was like, man, that is fascinating. So I'm sorry, Sandy, go ahead.
No.
Can I ask a writer's question?
Yeah.
I'm dying to ask this. Diane, tell us a little bit about your protagonist in this book, because I know in mysteries and thrillers, as a writer, as a writer, I really get into the multi dimensions of my protagonist. Who are your protagonists, and who are they?
In this series, Audra Clemmings is my main protagonist. All of the books are in her point of view. She is sort of middle-aged-ish, just kind of getting there. She has 2 grown kids. Once her kids left, she was looking for something to do. So that's where the craft shop came in, because her best friend doesn't need to make money. She's independently wealthy, so she just works just for, the little needles and the whatever she can use for her own crafts. So the two of them, they like the social aspect. They get to know, they know everybody on the street. It's a small town kind of thing. And she does not expect to find the cowboy's dead body on the front bench. So that completely throws her for a loop, but she feels obligated because it's in front of her shop. She feels obligated to help this guy and find his family and figure out what happened. And which opens her up to all these other things coming up later about, there's lots of stuff going on with the real estate area in the area and that sort of thing that she kind of wades into and tries to get back out of. But her husband actually works for a local developer. So she's also caught in this, wait a minute, I have this business, I have this place, and you guys are trying to take over all these businesses. So that's kind of an undercurrent for some of the series as well. And she's trying to be on the side of the little people while they're sort of being steamrolled by some of the bigger corporations and stuff. So Audra's very much a right fighter. She wants justice and she wants to see things go well for everybody, but she's got that balance of trying to support her husband while she tries to help everybody else as well.
Did that answer your question, Russell?
It did. What was the on this main protagonist? What surprised you about it? What surprised you about your character that you didn't plan on them being?
I think that she has become more open-minded when she's finding out about the voodoo, she's finding out about the witch stuff, and she's just kind of taking it all in stride. I'm glad it's your cat climbing around you and not mine today. It's usually mine. She's had some health concerns and other things that she's had to deal with, and she's kind of put on a brave face, which in the past she may not have.
Okay, well, that answers my question. Usually Amy asks if you're a plant. What is that you like to ask?
Oh,
plant?
are you a pantser or a plotter? Like, what is your writing style like?
Very much a pantser. Especially when I'm first writing a draft, it just kind of, I just let it go, let it flow. Of course, later on when you're doing the edits, you have to kind of try and tighten it all up. And I've had books that I had like a big Bristol board on the wall, and I've had little Post-it notes all over, just trying to make sure everything's flowing properly and that I don't miss a clue or something like that.
See, I love that because I felt like if I was ever going to write a book, okay, now I worked with so many authors that I live through their work because I know the time, the dedication, and the creativity that goes into it. And all of those I don't have. I have none of those. So I live through you guys. But I feel like if I was ever going to write a book, okay, I would just have to sit down and just go. I couldn't plot it because then I feel like it wouldn't, I don't know, it would stress me out because I feel like, oh, I need to stick to this timeline and everything. And like, oh, wait, I went off. I can't go off. Bring it back. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like I'd be very much that way. Like my personality is just that way. I'm kind of just like by the seat of your pants kind of person, you know?
Well,
so I love that.
What was really cool, I was part of I'm trying to remember which conference it was. It was an online conference we did through COVID. And I was kind of keeping track because there were some bigger name authors in there. And I'm listening to the questions. And out of the 4 on this particular talk, they asked the same question, are you a pantser or a plotter? And out of the 4, only 1 was a plotter. And they went, oh, thank goodness, because some of my favorite ones were like complete pantsers. They're like,
I don't see how you do it, Diane. I'm a total plotter.
yeah.
Now, the characters take over my line stream of plans, and they do things that I don't want them to do. So I understand that part of it. But to get everything in, I don't see how you do it.
Russell, you're not only are you a plotter, you're a replotter because you have everything all laid out and then you move it around and put it where it's supposed to be. And all. I love the way you. I probably could never do that either. I'd be more towards the panther
Yeah.
side. But I love how you do that. I watched you do that through your first book, and that was amazing.
It's just fascinating to see, right? Because, this isn't your first rodeo, Diane. Like, this is your 14th book. And so it's just fascinating to see, that you're consistent in your writing style and how you do it. Like, I'm always a firm believer that every book, an author gets better every book, right? Not that their first book was bad, but they get stronger writers the more books that they put out, right? Because they're more experienced in it and they're, you've worked that muscle a lot and you're just like, yes, you can flex it. Like, yeah, I can do this. No big deal. I can knock this out, right? And so it's fascinating to know because I know some people that bounce back and forth depending on what genre they're writing in, right? If they write multiple genres or whatever. But to be consistent for a pantser is just so refreshing. Like this whole conversation for me has been refreshing. I mean, besides the voodoo and then take me like a more American Horror Story like vibes that I was getting, which I am like their biggest fan. I love that show. Every season is fantastic. And then, consistent with the Panthers, it's just like a full encompassment, of a writer, which is refreshing. You don't bounce back and forth and do all these things, which is to me, consistency and stuff makes you incredibly strong and stronger as a writer. And so it's refreshing to kind of hear those. And then, you've paired yourself up with Mickey to help you with PR and marketing and everything, which is going to set you up for long-term success for all of your books, right? Which, is just marketing in of itself, right? Which is what all of us do. Me and Sandy do. It's just exhausting, right? It's exhausting. So,
Diane, is Dead Man's Doll your best book yet?
I hope so.
I love that.
Like Amy said, every book you learn something, you learn more skills, you learn more what to watch for. Every book I have fun with it and I enjoy the process. Sometimes when you get to about the 10th round of edits, you don't enjoy it so much. But
sometimes the edits are the best part though, right?
Absolutely.
Because when you see your book, wow, that's so much better.
Yeah. Or you sit there and go, I wrote that. That's pretty cool. So,
oh yeah, and you're shocked about it that
right?
You were able to write that.
I did have one book that I plotted, and it was only because I was doing NaNoWriMo. And National Novel Writing Month, you have 30 days to write 50,000 words.
Right.
And I've done it completely. Probably 3 times I've finished. Actually, Drop Dead Cowboy, I think, was one that I wrote during Nano. And it was fun, but I did plot one time because it was something I'd never written before. It was a young adult fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
So I did plot it out quite a bit, but I'm like, yeah, it worked out okay. But it was easier to move because you always knew what you were going to write the next day. But at the same time, I'm like, yeah, it wasn't really something I do on a regular basis. So
yeah, I could see that. And so I know that you mentioned that you get inspiration, kind of everything is inspiration to you, right?
Yeah.
To write and stuff. So if you had to pick, right? And I love doing questions like this because it kind of puts you guys on the spot, but it's fun for me. But if you had to pick, out of all the books and stuff that you've read and all the inspiration that you've gotten, what was for you the best form of inspiration that you got? Or just like click, and you're like, man, this whole story's here. I'm going to knock it out. I'm going to do it.
I haven't had the full story, but one of my books is called All That Shines. And it has my first transgender character, which I actually met this lovely woman. I work at a ticket office for a local professional theater. And this person came in and, just first glance, there's a man in front of you, and when I asked for their name, they gave me a female name, like a very female name.
Right.
And I just went, oh, okay. And I've gotten to know her quite well since then. And we've had conversations on Facebook that she's had with other people in the chat and stuff. I went, this would be such an amazing character to have come into this. Glitter Bay Mysteries is set in a little clothing boutique.
Okay.
And this character comes in and does the whole, look, don't call me this name, call me by that name. This is the real me. And I love that whole scene where the two main characters actually find out. And at first they're both kind of huddling in the back room going, what do we do? Like, how do we deal with this? And they just decide, it is what it is. This is what she asked. So let's do what she asked, right? We'll treat her the way she wants. And they've become really great friends. And she is actually coming back in book 3. She is now a roommate of one of the characters. And I'm having so much fun working with her. She has started creating costumes for drag queens. So that's going to bring in a whole different element, which is a lot of fun.
Well, that's interesting that we're talking about the Glitter Bay series, because I just bought the first one, the All That Shines. Is that the first one?
All That Sparkles is the first one, and then All That Shines.
Okay.
Nice.
I bought
But
the one.
You can read either one. It's all good.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then, All That Sparkles, Glitter Bay, the book 1. And then there's the Wild Blue Mysteries series. And so, what's the theme, the reoccurring theme through that one, the Wild Blue Mysteries?
That one, the kind of two main characters that are through the whole series are Danny Walker and his partner Leo Blue, and they started out as a small detective agency, and each of the different titles is a different woman in this town who drives them insane and gets them into these awful mysteries. But so we've got the bookstore lady, the mystery lady, the bakery lady, and it goes on. And then the last book, the con lady, was kind of a wrap up of all of the books. So it doesn't leave you wondering what happened to this character, what happened to that character. It is a wrap up. But as I said, there is kind of a loop. So if I want to come back later and say,
always leave that door open.
Exactly. Because I'm like, I don't know how to finish this without finishing it, right? So I did leave a lovely little loophole that I can come back later and.
Well, that's awesome, and I do know, Russell, that we're getting to the end of our time allotted. So, for the last thing, just tell us how to get in touch with you. If somebody, first of all, to buy the books, they're available on Amazon.
Yep.
But if somebody wanted to book you for one of their shows, I know they go through Mickey, right? Would they go through him to get to you to book you for an interview? And then I know that notice on your website. So let's send people to your website. Amy, if you'll put that up, it's let me get over here.
Yep, it's very simple. DianeBator.ca.
Okay. And because there they can get information on your book coaching and editing services and your podcast. And Diane is looking for authors who want to write not a podcast, it's a blog. To write a blog. Was that it, Diane?
Actually what I do is I have a blog. I kind of let it go to the side. So what I started doing is promoting other authors. It's called Escape with a Writer. And anybody who wants to be a part of it, I send you interview questions. You send me information.
Okay,
and I post it, and you can share it all over your social media and so on.
Very good. Very good.
It's been a lot of fun. I have authors from all over the world. So.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
I love that, connecting with authors everywhere.
Me
But
too.
let's see. Diane, thank you so much for being on today. And before we close out, we're going to do last minute comments, questions, anything like that. Russell, go for it.
The question I did not get to ask is how I want to end is, does Diane have trouble at the end of her series giving up her characters that she's fallen in love with.
Good
Well,
one.
I only just gave it up a few months ago, so I'll let you know.
But you
The
did
other ones
leave
are
the
still
door.
ongoing.
You did leave the door open for if you want to
Yeah.
say more about those characters. I noticed that. So yes.
So the
So the
answer
answer
is
to
she has trouble giving it up.
that's
Yeah.
exactly what I thought too. So
I love it. I love it. Sandy, what about you?
well, it's been great, Diane. I love mysteries, love talking about them, love reading them. So that's why I'm like, but I'm not really into voodoo. So I'm like, let me go back and read one of the other series, and I'll come back to the voodoo ones after I get familiar. But I love it.
Sandy, you'll love the voodoo. Trust me.
Okay.
Diane knows what she's talking about.
Okay, good.
It's
I do,
color.
Russell, I do trust you, so I will. I will follow your lead on that one. So, Diane, great to meet you. Look forward to reading your books.
It was a pleasure to meet all of you. I wasn't sure what to expect today, but this was fantastic. So thank
Oh,
you.
good. We love to hear that. We loved having you on, Diane. Thank you so much. You're welcome back anytime to come and talk with us. This has been such a fun and refreshing conversation. So thank you so much for taking time out of your morning to come and speak with us here on Author Talk. But until next time, you guys, we hope that you guys have a great Monday.